So let's go ahead and talk about this. You signed up for a class. What do I bring? So I get a lot of questions on just this in general, or after we get to class, people start to learn stuff, and I figured I might head off some of this just to help some guys out. First and foremost, when you go to sign up for a class, this isn't to insult anybody's intelligence, but this has happened on more than one occasion. Actually, read the website for stuff that we ask you to bring. Like, there's a gear list, and it's to set you up for success, not to make me feel good, right? So, for instance, bring the appropriate number of magazines, whether you got single stack or, regular 15 shot Glock 19 magazines or something similar. Bring the appropriate number of magazines, good belt, good holster, all the stuff that's already listed. The reason why we list a roll of masking tape and stapler is honestly for fairly obvious reasons, so that you can put stuff up and down. We do this as a class at once. So, and we actually change out targets almost frequently. So as you can probably imagine, if we've got 20 people doing this, and if there's like one stapler for 20 people, it isn't going to friggin' work out. So we may as well have a whole bunch of staplers, and everyone has their own masking tape so that we can do what we need to do. This question is sort of odd, but I also get it because I've been to a lot of classes in a lot of different places. One of the number one questions that I am asked on a regular basis is when they see a 3-day set, right? They see mechanical pistol and then self-defense pistol. Mechanical being 1 day, self-defense being a 2-day. And they see that that's going to cover from a Friday through a Sunday. And the total for that is 2,100 rounds. One of the most frequently asked questions that I am asked on a regular basis through email or whatever is, are we actually going to use that round count? Do I have to bring the 2,100 rounds? And the answer is yes. Those of you that have taken classes from me before can chime in the comments section below. But generally speaking, unless there's a few very, very rare exceptions, meaning basically never, we go through that friggin' round count. I am regularly doing math to make sure that I am on task as far as the number of rounds fired, and I am regularly trying to make sure that we stay very close to the pre-prescribed round count as possible. Number one, it's to make sure that you have the appropriate number of reps, and two, if my math is off, right, this makes me more or less assess where I'm at in my playbook, and it's like, no wonder they're 120 rounds short at this portion of this day because we still have this to do or whatever, right? So bring the round count. It's on purpose. Bring the round count, please. In addition to this, on more than one occasion, we've had all of the students bring over the round count, which means if you want to get more reps and stuff, we can. That isn't as common, especially right now, with 9mm being like 24 cents a round, but you can figure out where I'm going with this. So yes, please, for the love of God, bring the round count. Other things, right? And this is just like tips, quality of life stuff, and that sort of thing. If you are going to a handgun class, I'm going to highly suggest a Maglula. I get it. We're tough guys. We do tough guy stuff. We're out here. We're taking time off of work to go to work. I understand that. Thing is man, if you have 2,100 rounds of pistol ammunition to load into magazines, you probably want a Maglula for that, especially if you bring friends or a spouse or whatever. So there's that, right? Bring that Maglula, especially if it's cold outside, and especially if it starts to rain a bunch. I have a tendency to attract rain. So, it's just to save your hands. You have enough to do with your hands. If you could save them with a Maglula and a pistol class, yeah, that's probably going to help you out a bunch. And if weather is supposed to be particularly crappy outside, I would suggest that even if it's a rifle class. So like a rifle Lula, for instance. That's going to help you out quite a bit. It's just one less thing to account for. It's a little bit less of a beating on the thumbs. This doesn't sound like a big deal now until you are halfway through the third day and people are starting to move a little bit slower because you're starting to feel it now, you know what I mean? Where just waking up that morning was a little more difficult, where you stare at the ceiling and you're like, wow, this hotel bed is really, really, really comfortable. So when you're at that point, it's just a little bit easier to do that stuff. In addition to this, right, just little stuff like sunblock, bug spray. Again, pay attention to the environment, pay attention to the weather. Generally speaking, most of the time when people start doing like weather readings and that sort of stuff before class, it's usually some sort of lie, right? So you might want to pay attention to that kind of stuff. Here's something else too on this save your hands front. If you're able, whatever you're taking the class with, I would suggest bringing as many of those magazines as possible. Because me personally, when I go and take a class, like for instance, if it's a rifle class, I'm showing up with 1,000 rounds worth of loaded rifle magazines so that I can load as little as possible during the actual class portion. And in the middle of all that, like my parcels that are left over from certain sets, I'll set them down, and then like at lunchtime, I'll make the parcels into as many full magazines as possible, so that I can push that away as much as I can. And then of course there comes a point where you got to load magazines again, but at least it's it's one chunk versus a billion little chunks. So the more magazines, the better that you could just show up with. If you show up with loose ammunition, what I suggest, personally, is that you just get a couple of 50 caliber ammo cans, sealed ones, right, with the little rubber seals on the inside of the lids that you can pick up at a million different places. I suggest getting a couple of those so that, just as a for instance, one 50 caliber ammo can will fit 2,000 rounds of loose 9mm, right? So if you have a bunch of magazines that are loaded and the rest of it just goes in that one can, it just keeps everything together. You have your magazine bag, you have your ammo can, done. It cuts down on just the trash and all this other stuff, and having to fiddle with boxes is annoying. So the less of that you have to do, the better, right? Same thing with rifle ammunition too. Again, the less that you have to, manipulate little cardboard boxes and that sort of stuff. It's just one less thing that we have to deal with on the logistics side of the house, so it's going to help you out quite a bit. Something I would never leave home without is a friggin' raincoat, a plastic bag for your cell phone. Again, rain and stuff. And if you decide to bring a shot timer to this, we just bring them out. But if you decide to bring a shot timer to this, a plastic bag for that too, because we train whether or not it's raining outside. So if we start getting some wet stuff falling from the sky, being able to seal away that shot timer, because on occasion we usually bring enough shot timers to accommodate the class, but having another one there, just as a for instance, if we can do things with 3 timers going at once instead of like the 2 or however many that we have out there to start, it just helps everybody out. Cool. But you also don't want it dead by the end of a rainy weekend. Simple as that, right? Guys that have come to a lot of these in the past have brought, which I'm not going to tell you to bring, but it also might not be the worst idea ever, is like those little canvas overhangs, right, that you can just kind of like open up and you buy the thing and it's in one bag, you bring it up and you set it up like a folding chair, but it's a friggin' overhang. I've never complained when a large number of those show up. Never one time have I complained at that at all. I will say though, if you're going to do that, don't leave the stakes at home. Because if it'll rain on us, it'll rain sideways on us, and you can figure out where that goes from there. So that's simple enough. Here's the other thing too. We take lunch right about the middle of each day. Here's the thing. When I was talking before on just one less thing to do with like rifle magazines, ammunition, that kind of stuff, I would suggest this for food too. It's as simple as this. If you have to go someplace that's 15 minutes away, go wait in line at that Wendy's or whatever, and then come back, by the time you get back, that's at least 45 minutes. Because it's 15 minutes to the place, 15 minutes sitting there, dealing with the line, 15 minutes back. That's 45 minutes if you're lucky, right? And by the time you get back, you may as well have just inhaled the food that you had when you go out someplace, right? And this is all accounting for a 15-minute thing. And our lunches generally, unless there's some sort of exterior circumstance, which again is also rare, don't really exceed an hour, right? So what I suggest is meal plan for those 3 days, right? During your lunches and that kind of stuff. And for those of you that, do the coffee or the tea thing, one of these guys paired with one of these guys is a great idea. Or if you want to actually cook stuff, I've seen guys do that too, where they crack open a thing of Spam on a little pan, done, just so they don't have to go someplace, right? Or on this again, if it's particularly crappy outside and then suddenly it's food that is warm that you don't have to go someplace else for, and in a lot of cases too, if you're spending money on like fast food and junk, it's a lot of money relatively speaking. Warm food that I didn't have to go someplace else for, that was just right here, is an infinite help in comparison to, again, having to go someplace. So just little things that are going to help you out there. Oh, and here's the other deal too. So note taking, right? Pen to paper, I'm always a big fan of. On the website, it says it's mandatory because it is. Here's the other thing too. I get this question a lot, and it's on, hey, can I video myself? I don't care. We don't really do anything at all that is super stupid under the guise of like commando junk, right? There isn't a whole lot of mystic woo behind what we do. It's as simple as that. I don't really care if you come out and film stuff. Just a couple of things, and this is just like courtesy stuff, okay? One, don't get in the way, right? If you're going to show up with a tripod with one of those cool gimbals on it, I would suggest, A, let me know so I can stick you on an end. I can even help you out with like angles and stuff, because camera things, so that you can hold yourself hostage in the film room and you can study what you did without any real issues. Just don't be a pain about it, right? Like don't be sitting there trying to set stuff up while I'm in the middle of a lecture. I think that's fair. And if you're going to post some stuff to social media, I would like to see it. I'm not going to prevent you from doing anything. It's just kind of like if someone's getting ready to throw some stuff up there, I think it's fair to be like, hey, if you're going to post something, at least make sure that I'm not saying gamer words back to back to back when you're doing it, right? So let me look at it, because something may look perfectly normal to you as far as that's concerned, but again, having done the YouTube thing for a while and understanding that certain people are trying to come after you for stupid reasons, blah, 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 right? So, like, if an out of context but hilarious joke that somebody gets to tell, you don't want to get that dude fired from his job or whatever, right? So, like, if you're going to post something on social media, just a courtesy, be like, hey, I'm getting ready to post this thing, here it is, and then I could be like, hey, would you mind altering it because some such reason that most people will find dumb, but I don't want to get this guy in trouble at his job. You see what I'm saying? So just simple stuff like that, right? So this is all just little tips here and there, and I'm certain that the editor is going to throw in a bunch of images of stuff that he has brought to class as well. He is very well prepared anytime that he goes to a class. I just wish that his skill set matched up with his preparedness.
Mr. McGee, don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
So, if you guys want to come out and do all this training stuff with us, you can absolutely do that. Link in the description below will bring you to our website, regularguy.training, where you can go through all of the stuff that I asked you to read. Very politely, of course. In addition to that, if you want to support us through Patreon, you can absolutely do that. A couple of bucks a month helps us out tremendously. But if you want to get something out of it, $41 a month gets you as much training as you want, with a couple of exceptions, and that would be, honestly, I think stuff that's fair. For instance, private classes that isn't covered on it, and logistically ridiculous classes like vehicle classes and stuff is not covered under the $41 a month stuff either. That said, it's a system that's meant to be abused. If you want to check us out through our social media stuff, again, the rest of those links are in the description below. And remember, guys, a regular guy's firearm is the last defense against tyranny. Be easy.